That looks good, Luke. Your new office looks good.
Thanks. Look at this helpless little plant over here.
Against the big bad city.
Yeah, it kind of blends in. I could even maybe turn it over here.
No, it looks, I mean, maybe when the sun goes down, it'll be a little different, but.
Say, Keats, I was by the park today, and I think there's a couple of trees in the middle there need some watering. They look pretty shorn from branches. They're in trouble. The squirrels aren't even climbing up them, you know. There's a problem.
Definitely in trouble.
Gotta get some water, some fertilizer there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to know you went by.
I have as well. I'm waiting for the opening.
Monday, a week from today.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. We'll just wait for some people to trickle in.
And the tulips were exquisite this year.
Weren't they? So, and what
Gorgeous.
also made them, I think there's a couple things that made them so great. One is we're all desperate for
Right.
joy, but also we hadn't had tulips for 4 years because we had a tulip blight. So it's the first time we've had tulips in 4 years.
I didn't.
Other bulbs, but not tulips.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they look just fantastic.
They did. Spectacular.
Clayton, would it be okay if I ask a question before we start?
Sure.
I'm just curious as to if you saw the picture of the dumpsters that the conservatory put in behind the main monument up at Columbus Circle, whether that's just me being a cranky old man or whether that's something wrong about what they did, and should we be concerned they didn't ask us?
The Central Park Conservancy behind the entrance at.
They put two big gray dumpsters, I sent a photograph, behind the monument, which they have turned into stores. And I sent a picture to everybody. I'll send it again after the meeting, but.
Yeah, I don't think I got those pictures. I actually don't know anything about that. Marisa, I'm not sure if you have any intel on that.
That's why I was.
David, I didn't see the pictures unless you sent them in the last half hour or so.
No, I sent them about 2 weeks ago.
I didn't see that, Dave.
I'll send them again when I get a chance.
Yeah, send them again, and I'll reach out to the Conservancy.
Okay, thank you.
I have to alert everyone. The words "the Conservancy" is dangerous because we have many conservancies. So
I'll reach out to Central Park.
Yeah.
Central Park, yes.
Okay, so I'd love to get started. Keats, I know that we had a issue with Robin's link. Do you know if she's
not going to join.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she's fine. So we're
okay,
good.
No problem. Then let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Clayton Smith. I'm chair of the Parks and Public Spaces Committee on CB5. And we are hearing an update from Madison Square Park Conservancy to kick us off tonight. And then we have an agenda item from Bryant Park. So I think that's all I have to say to kick us off. So Keats, take it away.
Sure. I will be super quick. I'm Keats Meyer. I'm the executive director of the Madison Square Park Conservancy. Hi, everybody. Lots of familiar faces. First of all, those dead trees. So we have Maya Lynn with her Ghost Forest installation in the middle of the oval lawn. The grass has grown in around it. It'll open on Monday, May 10th, and the lawn will be open to the public Tuesday morning. All the other lawns are open already, so please go on by and enjoy them. One thing I do think is always good to educate about, and you can share with all those who ask, is that we really do have to close the lawn for a few months, and it's been closed for a few months. We get a ton of complaints, but what happens is if we don't, there's no grass. It died. It really did this year, and the water erodes the dirt. And that starts to impact the trees and the bushes and the plants. And so you just can't fake it. So after 2 months of resting and growing, we're now open. The dog run construction will start in October. The dog run will be closed from October for the next 6 to 9 months. We are raising the last chunk of money for that project, which will go to us dedicating one of the lawns to dogs and their people. And so anybody who would like to see the dog run have a temporary run over on Cherry Lawn, please help us out with a donation, because it's not cheap, because we'll have to resod everything. We have to fence everything in a new way. We have to create entrances. So temporary run is a big project, but well worth it. I think there's a lot of people who definitely count on that. And then finally, Clayton, we had spoken about the Pupper Cup people. They sell ice cream to dogs, and they have applied for a temporary use application, which is a TUA, and they will be, I'm not even sure how much they'll be in the park. Robin forgot to update me on that, but I think it's something like 5 weekends. It's not a lot, because I think they can only do 28 days with a TUA. So if you see a small cart with someone selling ice cream to dogs, that will be, it's approved and permitted and the whole thing. But really, honestly, we're happy to host them. It's really not our decision. That is one of the few things. All TUAs come out of the Parks Department, as opposed to the actual conservancy.
Thanks, Keats, and everyone, so that any intel that I can share, because we had some confusion around like what kind of permit is this, and I didn't really recall the TUA, but this was done before with this same actually, I don't think applicant's the right word, but same permittee in Worth Square a couple of years ago, I think.
Yep, and they took over for Calexico, I think.
But when the Calexico cart left, which was a little bit ding dong, the witch is dead for us. The Pupper Cup thing was the replacement, which we did not get any complaints about, and I think people were happy to feed ice cream to their dogs. I also want people to note, who are concerned about the nutritional value of the ice cream for the dogs, is that this ice cream is in fact dairy-free and sugar-free, I noticed.
Did you look it up?
I looked it up. Well, we always ask questions about what are we feeding our children. So I was like, well, what are we feeding the pets? No. So yes, so we do have dairy and sugar-free ice cream being fed to the dogs. So with that, I will ask the committee if you have any questions about any of these updates for Madison Square Park. If so, please feel free to raise your hand.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I think I have, I know there's someone in the attendees who had something they wanted to speak about, and we will get to a public session later. But if there's anyone in the attendees who has a question or comment about these items for Keats as well, please feel free to raise your hand. I know there had been some conversation about the dog run project in the past, so we're thrilled to hear that it's moving forward and that there'll be some accommodation.
It's going to be a real improvement.
With new space for temporary space, and then permanent space, and ice cream, all the good things for the dogs. Yeah, Mike.
Okay, so October, Keith said October, it's going to close down. This one's going to close down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's going to be closed for 6 months?
6 to 9 months.
6 to 9
So
months.
far, we've always come on the short end of our projects, but.
And during that time, there'll be an alternate place for the dogs to be running around and eating ice cream that's healthy for them somewhere else, which is where?
The Cherry Lawn, which is just north, it's on the northwest side of the park. There's a big cherry tree in the middle of it.
By where the Madison tree is?
No, that's the northeast side. So other side, yeah.
Oh, where the sukkah was that time? The Halloween.
A little
giveaway,
south of that, but not too far.
and where the Halloween pumpkin giveaway was some years ago.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not even sure, but yeah, it's up in that end of the park.
Okay, 6 to 9 months from October. Thank you.
It's great, Keats. We're going to end up with the Mike Kabak map of the park, the anecdotal history of Madison Square Park.
I have got it down in my head now.
It's
It took 7 years.
Any other questions for Keats from members of the committee or comments? All right, well, seeing none, thank you so much. Keith,
Good
for
to
your
see you
time.
all. Take care.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right, and that moves us to the Bryant Park Corporation's update. And I think we have Rachel, right?
Hey, yes. Hello. Hi, Clayton.
Hello, welcome.
Hi to other members of the committee. Thanks for having me back. I was last here to present a number of months ago about Winter Village, which returned for the season this past season in a modified way. And now I'm here to talk about our summer and spring and summer programming, which is coming back in full force with some modifications for COVID. But the mandate we were given by Dan Biederman, our executive director, was bring it all back. So we are bringing as much of the free public programming back as makes sense to bring. So I will try to share my screen. 1 second. That work? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so this is going to be pretty rapid fire, a lot of different programs, but I think the best way to do it is if you have a question or a note about a particular program, you can shout it out while I'm on or near that slide, or you can hold it till the end. I don't really mind being interrupted though. Okay. So classes and activities returning to the park. Juggling has been going all the way through COVID. It's going to continue. It has 3 days a week in the park. You can learn to juggle 2 afternoons and 1 evening. Birding tours are currently up and running as the migratory season continues. And these will be in the spring for the migratory season and in the fall for the migratory season. Attendance for these is capped and we require pre-registration because the Audubon Society would prefer it that way and they're our partner. So definitely try to snag a spot on one of those, and we have some walk-ins if people don't show up. The Bubble Man, this is just a man who creates really large bubbles. Kids love it, and it's going to be in the park twice a week, all the way through the season. Our language classes are returning after taking a hiatus in 2020. So those will be on Mondays. It's an introductory language class, and I believe there's a little bit of continuity between classes, but it's you don't have to attend every class to get caught up. Tai Chi is already back starting today after kicking off with World Tai Chi Day a couple weekends ago, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. This is one of the early morning programs that we offer, trying to program at all hours. Ribbon dancing also returning starting this Friday. And this is an all ages program. We find that the kids really take a shine to it, but it's definitely adults too. Knitting, making its triumphant return after taking 2020 off, coming back on Tuesday afternoons. And I think this scheduling is somewhat tentative. It may start a little later than that. Yoga also coming back starting in mid-June. With these large scale programs on the lawn, there will be modifications for COVID. Obviously, the mayor or the governor, I guess, just announced that COVID is over as of the middle of May for purposes of programming or for planning various businesses. So we'll take direction based on what elected officials and the CDC are telling us. I can imagine a modification for something like yoga would be, we would distance the mats much further apart, possibly have people bring their own mats rather than sharing. But otherwise, besides capacity restriction, I would think a large outdoor yoga class would actually be pretty safe, all things considered, compared to some other indoor fitness, perhaps. Limon Dance is coming back for another season of outdoor movement classes. And then arts and culture, this is where we're really excited. So American Symphony Orchestra is going to be in the park. Actually, they're in the park tonight trying to fight it out through the rainstorm. And they'll be doing a few weeks of in-park performances. Just a small quartet. I think one is jazz, one is percussion, one is classical. Piano started up today and will continue all the way through the summer on every weekday. 2 hours of piano, sometimes accompanied by tap dancing, sometimes accompanied by sing-alongs. So we have a very dedicated piano audience who are glad to be back in the park. And this was a 2020 summer program as well. Picnic performances. You may have seen in the New York Times the announcement that 25 free large-scale art and culture events are returning to Bryant Park this summer. So this is what that was referring to. Obviously, this is a pre-COVID photo. But we are so excited to host a lot of our returning partners as well as some really exciting new partners. This is the lineup. So we've got New York Philharmonic, which we are beyond excited for. Carnegie Hall and New York City Opera returning as partners. Town Hall returning as a partner. New partners, Jazz at Lincoln Center, Classical Theater of Harlem, Harlem Stage, Joe's Pub, Greenwich House Music School, Nashville Sawdust, and then returning partners, Limon Dance and New York Chinese Cultural Center. So you may be wondering, how are we going to do this all safely? And the answer is going to be that as of right now, we'll be capping attendance to these events pretty severely based on what they've been in a pre-COVID year. So we will distribute chairs on the lawn in a very specific way, spaced out, and probably have to max out somewhere around 800 attendees based on what we're hearing from the governor in terms of large event caps, which is based on the total square footage of the lawn. That's something like 25% of the total square footage of the lawn is 800 people. Whereas, we probably had thousands of people at these events in the past. So it's a difference. And we will require pre-registration. That 800 number, we're only going to be able to get up to that number if we also require testing and or vaccinations. So it's going to be a logistical hurdle for sure, but we're excited to be able to bring this free public programming with these wonderful partners back to Midtown and give people another reason to come visit our neighborhood. So I'll pause here because there may be some questions about these events that you may not have about other smaller scale events. So if anyone has a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Thanks, Rachel. So I know we have a question from Mike. Before we get to that, I just wanted to ask, what are you thinking as far as the seating is mobile, right? People can just move the chairs themselves. So obviously then you have people in their own households and it's just kind of confusing, like whose job is it to monitor how close people are to each other?
Yeah, so I wish, actually this presentation, Dan Fishman, who is in the park holding an umbrella over a musician, made the presentation, but I've seen the layout, which I would have included had it been my presentation, which is that we are going to preset all of the chairs in very specific areas. We're gonna staff this event like crazy, lots of people working to make sure that the lawn stays in order. We're gonna have markings on the lawn. Probably not something that, sorry, scared me. Probably something temporary like ropes or something else that might help demarcate where people are supposed to be. There'll be very strict signage that ask people to stay in their seat with their mask on unless they're eating or drinking. People will be allowed to bring their own food or drink, but not allowed to bring a blanket or anything else that would allow them to spread out beyond the area of their chair. And what we'll basically have is a group for individual seats where they're each spaced 6 apart from each other, and then a group for pairs where there's pairs of seats that are 6 feet from the pair, and then a group for groups of 3 or 4 where there's 4 seats, 4 seats, 4 seats, and those 4s are spaced apart. So when you book your ticket through Eventbrite, your free ticket, you'll be selecting the size of your group, and that is how we will, handle the capacity limits versus the group sizes and the households and all that stuff. But you will not be able to attend this event with a group larger than 4 people, basically.
Okay, and then upon arrival, what are your thoughts now as far as, queuing, are people going to be kind of let onto the lawn whatever time they show up? Like, how does that work? And then also, how will you handle people who walk by? And we should be so lucky that there'd be a huge demand for people to want to hang out, but
we do expect a huge demand, especially for these New York Philharmonic events. This is definitely the first time in recent memory that Bryant Park has hosted the Philharmonic, and it's a free public event after a year with so little going on. We expect a huge amount of demand. So we're going to add, especially for that Philharmonic event, we're going to add a ton of part-time security staff who will work that event, just to make sure that there's not any dangerous crowding situations around the perimeter of the park. All of Bryant Park staff will be working overtime that whole week. It's a 4-day session. So it's the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th of June are all Philharmonic. So we'll all be on site to help make sure that everything is safe and distanced. But then in terms of the actual lineup itself, actually based on something that we tried for Winter Village this past year that worked really well, people will be assigned entry groups. So you'll have staggered ticket times based on your group size, and you'll have a time on your ticket, and you can show up early, but you can't show up late. So we'll be able to get people in groups without having too many people in the line at once is the hope. And then because the state tells us we have to, we will also have to temperature check all of those people, even if they are providing proof of vaccination, which is a little bit silly, but we'll do it because we want this event to happen. And we will check their vaccination card and or proof of a negative test, which they also will have had to sign off on when they reserved the ticket. And then someone else will scan their ticket so that we can see that the ticket has been validated. We have yet to figure out exactly what we're going to do in terms of drop off. We do expect a free public event. People are going to reserve tickets and then not attend. And we also expect a great deal of demand for people to walk on and attend this event same day. So I won't announce a system because I don't think there is one yet, but we're trying to work on a system that accommodates both the desire of people to show up and attend, because I think at Bryant Park, we've done a really great job for the past few years marketing ourselves as the place to just show up and go to a free public event, which unfortunately this year is not quite what's going on. And you know, knowing that we will also have drop off because free public events have significant no-show rate as well. It's hard to know. I think we'd much rather err on the side of not having too many people than having not enough, but we wouldn't want a half empty park for the Philharmonic. That would just be sad. So.
Wow, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna take a couple of questions from committee members. Mike.
Hi. First, this is someone who's been going to Bryant Park since the 1960s, eating lunch on a fence there and watching all the stuff that's going on. Saw the first movie ever shown there called Breakfast at Tiffany's. I love Bryant Park. I go there all the time. And my question is, and I enjoy most of the stuff, watching the ping pong and all of that stuff that's going on now. My question is, in the past, I seem to recall, not the greatest memory here, that there were brochures that if you were on a mailing list, you got a brochure in the mail or maybe on the email, which I am on both. And I was wondering if there will be a brochure talking about that the piano lady's going to be there and this guy is coming and the sing-along then and all of the stuff, the juggling and the reading and the poets and the all of the speakers. Is there going to be something written down so you could go by month like in the past and follow it?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a question we've gotten from a few people recently because we don't have a brochure this year. To answer your question, it was a decision made. It was a mix of the people not being sure if other people wanted to touch a lot of surfaces to like open a brochure cover and get a brochure. But also, I mean, I'll be honest that it was a financial decision. The brochures are extremely expensive. We weren't sure what the attendance of the park was going to be like this summer. We didn't print one for Winter Village last year either. However, we've gotten a number of comments to the like of, you know, I don't want to go online and look up this information. I'd rather have something in print. So I think we're learning that we might have to bring back some sort of print, even if it's less of an extensive brochure collection as in the past, some type of print offering that helps orient people. We will have, I mean, this is probably not what you're talking about, but we will have a digital playbill for all of these events that you can scan a QR code and view on your phone. You know, our website is pretty built out with all this information and we're trying to make it more easily, have it in a more logical order because our website has certainly made some folks not so pleased with how hard it is to find things sometimes, and we're aware of that. So the short answer is there's not a brochure right now, but we hear you and we've gotten this comment and we will take it all under consideration.
So that was a long no. And if we want to know what's going on, there will be an email sent to the mailing list, or we got to
Yes.
send to the website.
Absolutely, we will email everyone who subscribes to Mid-City News, and we will have continued to send out that email weekly throughout COVID. So as events get added to the calendar, absolutely, we will email our email subscribers. And when there's a link to sign up for the event, that will absolutely get sent out to our email list.
That was a no and a yes.
Yeah, I did it halfway, you know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. And Barbara.
I was just curious, do you think you're going to be requiring the actual vaccination card, or are you, you know, if like I don't, like I have it on my phone.
Yeah, we'll take whatever you want to give us. If you want to show us, if you want to show us the Clear app or the New York State Excelsior app, if you want to show us a photocopy, if you want to show us what's on your phone. I mean,
Oh, that's great.
we trust you. I mean, I think, being honest with you all, this seems like a relatively safe event. It's outdoors, people are spaced apart. So if you want to sneak in and not be vaccinated, I don't think that's really going to hurt anyone. So we're just going to take people at their word, and believe that most people will be honest with us about whether they're vaccinated or not. But yeah, you don't have to bring the actual physical card. I understand people want to keep that close and hidden away. Mine's in a box that I barely even remember where it is. So.
Someday you may need it, so.
Yeah, no, I hope I remember.
Anyway, thanks. Yeah, no, it's very exciting. I mean, I think it really is going to continue to lift everybody's spirits to have these things. It's very much.
We hope so too. And
It is summer. Yeah.
We're hearing from the partners from these huge arts institutions that this is the first time that they've done something since before COVID, and they're so excited, and the musicians and the artists are so excited to be performing again. So it really does feel like, I mean, the arts industry in New York City got hit so much harder than a lot of other industries, and Midtown got hit so much harder than a lot of other neighborhoods. So it feels like a real opportunity for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Rachel, also, is there what are your thoughts? You're doing such a great job about trying to stagger people's arrival, but what about when the event's over and everybody wants to rush the gates to leave?
Yeah, great question. So I actually have been attending there are a few events going on right now that are sort of the precursors to what we'll be doing. BAM did actually an ice skating performance, and I was curious to see how their exit was done. And they did, they called out who was supposed to go and when. But it actually ended up being a little more chaotic than they expected. I think everyone just expected they'd be able to leave, and then they got stopped and turned back. So what we're planning to do is just have a ton of exits. There's only going to be one entrance, but there will be a bunch of exits. Every exit to the lawn or entrance to the lawn will be turned into an exit. So at the end of the show, the way that the aisles on the layout are lined up, the aisles will be extremely wide, and they will all immediately lead to an exit. So we actually expect that exiting will be pretty orderly. Some people will want to get right out of there. Some people will take their time. And overall, it's only going to be, a quarter of the people who would ever be on the lawn in the past. So I don't think it will be too big of a crowding condition, but I think it's a really good point.
That makes sense. Okay, I know we have hands up in the audience, but I know that you also aren't finished with your presentation. So I think we should go ahead and get through it, and then we'll take more questions at the end.
Okay, sounds good. I think that probably, well, who knows? Maybe you'll have questions about the other stuff, but this seems like the piece de résistance, as I say. All right, here we go. So we are also going to potentially have some Shakespeare performances with the Drilling Company, our longstanding partner, possibly on the front terrace of the public library as a way of kind of working with the library, which is still closed at this time. We are going to bring back bingo, which is a favorite of many, to the Fountain Terrace. I know all of these programs pre-COVID, or the pictures pre-COVID, are very triggering to people. So just imagine it being very distanced and masked, and avert your eyes at all of these wonderful smiling crowds. Okay, movie nights are also hopefully going to be coming back this summer. Basically, the picnic performances model for large-scale public programming, if it works well, we're just going to use it for everything that might otherwise be on the lawn. So it will be the same. Will require vaccinations, will require pre-registration, we'll probably even use the same setup and model of you're attending with a single or a pair or a group. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if that works for the Philharmonic, I think it would also work for something like movie nights, which wouldn't happen until later in the summer. So we'd have more time to refine it as well. And hopefully, the hope is that these restrictions continue to ease and we can continue getting back towards what feels like a normal Bryant Park summer. I certainly don't want to limit events to 800 people if we don't have to. If they tell us we can do 1,000 people or 1,200 people, and people can just choose to sit as far apart from each other as they like, I think we would do that tomorrow. But we want to do this in partnership with the city and the state. So it is something that is koshered and also, perceived as safe. Broadway and Bryant Park also hopefully coming back. I have few details on this. It would probably be only maybe 1 or 2 total instances of the event rather than the whole series as we've done in previous years, mostly because we're working with shows that haven't been in operation and maybe don't have their cast locally, and it's more logistically challenging than it has been in the past. But we know this is a people's favorite program, so we're going to try to do something. It may be in the evening rather than the midday time slot it had been in the past. And I imagine, as I said, use the same picnic performances, lawn setup. Although hopefully by September we can relax a little bit on the intense restrictions. Amenity areas, we'll have the return of all of our amenity areas in the park once the spring market leaves at the end of June. For now, you can find games and the art cart on the Fifth Avenue Terrace. They're sort of sharing a cart and a host. And you can find ping pong and the reading room sharing a cart and a host on the north side, North LA, the 42nd Street Plaza on the north side of the park. But once we get through June, we'll bring back the full complement of amenity areas, including the art cart. This is a photography class from a couple years ago. Ping pong, which is here now. Games, which, as I said, is here now, but it's going to move back to its 40th Street Plaza location with a larger selection of board games. Right now, we have kind of the favorites, but we'll bring back the weird, obscure ones that no one ever plays. Mahjong Socials returning starting this month, I believe, actually this week. And that those always are very popular. Chess has moved to the 40th Street Plaza where games usually is. So chess has been broken off from games. We have a very, I don't want to say rabid because that's a negative word, but we have a very dedicated following of chess players, and they preferred that space, so we are giving it back. Art card, as I said, Cutting in Cube, returning to the green, daily 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. starting in July. Petanque, it is actually currently there are kiosks on the petanque courts, but they're playing anyway. They have half a court, and there's always guys there playing petanque. So even though this says July 1st, if you wanted to go play petanque at Bryant Park tomorrow, you could go tomorrow. There's just a little less space. The reading room is bringing back its programming. So it's there now, but we're going to get more book carts and have a more expanded selection of programming starting soon. The author talks are coming back afternoon on Wednesdays starting in July. Writers workshops, some tentative timing here as we hammer things out with partners, so don't hold us to it, but tentatively Mondays in the evening. Literary Tuesdays, combining some of our popular different programs under one mantle, which is Literary Tuesdays, starting in the middle of July. Book Club returning. The dates of this are a little fuzzy still. Real Talks, which is our movie program and usually would come before the movie nights series. So I assume it will do something like that in the future as well, probably starting later in the summer. Camp Kids, we're taking our popular Carousel Kids programming and meshing it with our popular Reading Room Kids programming and making one umbrella kids program for the summer. So it'll actually be every weekend from June 26th to August 22nd, both Saturday and Sunday. Tons of stuff to do with your kids in Bryant Park. So if you have children or grandchildren, bring them on down. Story time returning as well with our friend Calico Cat. And I think that is it. Okay, that's really the end.
Great, thank you, Rachel.
I'll go back to we'll go back to the slide that has the partners list because I feel like the questions may be about this program still.
Okay, so I'm going to take some questions from members of the audience. We have Jay Saran. You just have to unmute yourself and you will be able to ask your question or make your comment.
Great, excellent. I wanted to follow up on Michael's statement about the brochures. I have lived in the neighborhood since the mid-1990s. I use Bryant Park, and so does my family, at least once or twice a week, if not more. We love Bryant Park. Thank you so much for maintaining it so well and having all the programming you have. The reason I wanted to make a comment about this is I've always been frustrated about the glossy brochures you have because I don't like to take a lot of paper, and having all these individual glossy brochures for each of the activities has always been so annoying. So if you do have a chance to please put all the weekly events that happen every week on one piece of paper, an 8.5 by 11 maybe, or 8 by 14, so we don't have to take one for each. And then I can post it on my refrigerator, and we can know what's going on when. Because I always find that it would be much better to have a list of them. And also, if you had one single 8.5 or 8.5 by 14 for the fancy events, like the one-time events, that would be great, because then we would actually look ahead and sign up. Anyway, that's just a suggestion about the brochures. And thank you for considering making something. I found that when I try to check when I'm at the park, I don't have internet access enough to check. So maybe the brochures would be helpful to people like me. I also had a separate thing about a potential new business item, which is related to the POPs in our district, but I'm hoping that we might be able to discuss that if you have a few moments at the end of this.
That's what we'll do. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the audience for Rachel at Bryant Park? And likewise, any further questions or comments from members of the committee? While I'm waiting to see if there are more hands, I do want to note that this is a voting item because we do always vote on the annual programming. So in anticipation of that, if those of you that have your cameras off, if you can turn them on so that we know you have a pulse prior to taking a vote, that would be helpful. And I do need to kind of game out what we're going to do here because there's so many unknown details with this programming, Rachel, that I know things are in flux. And so I'm trying to kind of track the things that I know that we're going to want some updates on as you make further plans.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I can take a list, or you can send me a list, whatever you would like updates on, we're happy to provide.
Yeah, well, I mean, off the top of my head, I know that, I mean, obviously the things that you don't know, we will want to know with protocol. We're just would love to be in the loop about when you reach certain decisions. And also stuff from the city and the state can be so unbelievably confusing that that it would just be great if you could let the office know once you have determined a way forward with any number of decisions you have to make about protocol, just for safety. That's kind of, and capping attendance and such, like that's, we'd really love to be updated in real time when you make those decisions.
Sure. So I will tell you that what we are planning to do right now, and I know I said that this may change because it may, but as of right now, if the event were tomorrow, we would have, for any of those large scale events, we would have a max of 800 people on the lawn, broken out into those groups by number, as I said, required advanced ticketing, require vaccines or proof of a negative test. And I think that's everything. Oh, and temperature checked and masked. So that's what we would be doing if the event was tomorrow. And I will update as we find out more from the mayor and the governor about how things are changing or will change.
Great, thank you. And also updates about your plans for the day of people who show up and want to come to the event, and what your thinking is moving forward with that. We'd love to know about that.
Yeah, I'll definitely update you. I will say I don't think we'll ever be at the point where we're encouraging people to come to the event if they don't have a ticket, because I think that could result in a crowding situation. I think we'll have to walk that line between explaining to people what the process might be and go short of encouraging them to attend the park just to see if they might get in, because I don't want a situation where it's like a TKTS booth, but just in the middle of a pathway in Bryant Park. I think that could be a little chaotic.
Yeah, and I assume that in your obviously your emails, but also even just social media posts and everything, you'll have to have a real eye toward getting that Eventbrite tickets required info, all caps, up front and center, so that people understand.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a challenge. I think Winter Village was helpful for us as a dry run because this was the first winter that everyone had to have a ticket for the ice rink, and they couldn't just wait in the line to get it. A number of people got those tickets on their cell phones upon arriving in the park, and we expect that will be possible for some of these events that have a lower demand. For the Philharmonic, I think it's going to sell out, whatever you call it, for a free event as soon as we release it, or very quickly, just because the pent-up demand of seeing the Philharmonic is going to be so high. But for trying to think of an example of a Limon Dance or New York City Opera, even though these are wonderful institutions, they don't quite have the same, we may not have as many rabid fans trying to, get in there. And so there may be more same day or day before reservations that we can accommodate.
Okay, great. And I don't see any other hands, members of the committee. So I think I would, and I'm seeing Jay Saren's hand again. I'm assuming this is about the POPs issue, but if you do have another question or comment, yes, there you go. Okay, no problem. We'll get to that. So I guess what I would move, and I would like to hear this motion, is that I assume everyone is on board with supporting this roster of programming from Bryant Park Conservancy, Bryant Park Corporation. And we're just going to have language that is a lot looser than we usually do in our resos, since there are some operational details that have yet to be hammered out. So we'll just include some language about coming back to us and giving us further updates, but being clear that what we have now is what we're taking the position on. And with that, I'd love to hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, Craig, can we take it to a vote?
Yeah, Clayton.
Yes.
Craig, yes. Dave.
Yes.
Miriam.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Mike.
Yep.
Evan.
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Barbara.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Noah.
Yes.
Passes.
Great, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you, Rachel, so
and
much.
Kim is here too. Yes.
Oh, hi, Kim.
Hey.
Sorry. Oh, see you.
So that was a yes from Kim, I
Yep.
assume. Great. Rachel, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Of course, thank you all, and we will update you as we learn more. And everyone, light your prayer candles and pray for relaxations on outdoor event restrictions.
Thank you.
So choose. Okay, thanks everyone.
All right, that is the end of our voting items, but we do open for a section for new business, which is brought to us by members of the public who have something they would like to address. So please be aware that these are not formal agenda items, but we do want to hear whatever it is that members of the public would like to bring to us. So let's resume with Jay Saren. I'm guessing how that's pronounced. Please forgive me.
That's fine. That's fine. My name is Jennifer Saran. I live right on the edge of Community Board 5, but I've lived in the neighborhood since the mid-1990s, as I stated earlier. I love the neighborhood. I raised, my husband and I raised our son here, and we use Bryant Park and we use the parks all the time. Now, I'm here today because I was hoping that maybe I could bring up an issue about POPs in the neighborhood that has been closed since November, at least November, when I noticed it was November 23rd, 2020. And I know that this isn't on your agenda, so I'll keep it very, very short. The fact is that when I asked back in November, or was it February, I was told that the reason it was closed is homeless people were peeing there, and that they didn't want that happening, and that they were concerned about the protesters. And that is not the reason to close a privately owned public space. You close a privately owned public space maybe if there's going to be some sort of local law 11 facade work done every 5 years, or you cover it up so that you can still have use of the park during that time. But this has been closed with a fence. And when I've taken photos in November and then March and then April, it's still been closed and there's no change inside. And every time I've taken a photo up, there's no work being done on that side of the building. And the last time I went by, I looked at their signage, their permit signs, and it looked like they hand wrote in that the permit was good till 11/12/21. Like someone just took a pen and they wrote in 11/12/20 to 11/12. I believe it says 21 now. So
Wait, sorry, can I just ask
I sent the photos to you all.
But for proposed construction work, is that what it was supposedly about? Or
I'm looking at the permit now. It says temporary construction equipment, ground floor, location of plywood, something, it got all wet and they just left it up there.
Wait, and sorry, will you clarify for us which Pops this is?
This Pops is on 38th Street between Madison Avenue and 5th Avenue. It is 425 5th Avenue's privately owned public space. And I communicated with, unfortunately, I thought I was in Community Board 6 originally because in the past we used to be, but we were rezoned years ago happily into Community Board 5. So the bottom line is there anything you can do to help get this Pops open again?
Well, first of all, yes. So I'm going to ask.
I already complained, by the way, to 311 months ago.
That's good. 311 is always important. People kind of poo-poo it because I understand it feels like nothing gets done, but the paper trail is extremely important for every issue. But a couple quick things. One thing is we are happy to have you at this meeting, of course, to share about this, and we'll continue to help you working with this. The Pops, just so that you're aware, the Pops in particular were created by zoning, since they, as I'm sure you know, were bonuses given to developers for increased FAR for their buildings. So because of that, they are the purview of our land use and zoning committee, and Pops issues are very often on those agendas. So I do encourage you to track our land use committee agenda meetings for all kinds of Pops related issues. It is a public space and we hear those issues here as well. And of course, we're all CB5, so it doesn't really matter ultimately, but just so that you're aware of that. And then Luke and Marisa, I know that we've emailed about another Pops that has been closed, but I don't believe it was this one. Is there anything that you have off the top of your heads to share about this space?
I can let Luke speak specifically to this space. I believe there are actually some building facade issues that haven't been resolved. So there are some actual safety issues for pedestrians in that area, but I'll let him speak to that. But in terms of Pops being closed in general, we actually have asked the Department of Buildings to come to our sort of local community district service cabinet meeting this week to talk specifically about Pops and the number of Pops that have been closed in the district. So we're sort of in sync on this at the moment, and I'm happy to follow up with you after that meeting and talk through what we learned. And I'll let Luke answer any specifics for this location.
I just want to say thank you so much for being concerned about this too. During the pandemic, my husband is disabled, and having a place, we have residents in our building who can't only walk a few blocks, they are needing that Pops. And to close it gratuitously, I don't remember who I spoke with, but whoever I spoke with who gave those two reasons, that is not construction. So I'm happy to collaborate. Like I really,
also, I do want to ask you, Jen, when you say you don't know who you spoke to, but were you calling the property?
No. Oh gosh, no. I was walking. I walk around in the neighborhood. I go to and from Bryant Park. I'm a neighborhood resident, so I walk past that place a lot. And every time I walk past it, I get more and more frustrated as the fall turned into winter, turned into spring. I'd like to be going out and sitting there once in a while. These things, I put together a mock bill, like legislation, just as a way to explore more about this that would penalize companies. Luke was very kind to send me information, and he said it looks like they've already been fined $10,000. Luke, you can correct me if I don't remember correctly from your email, but $10,000 compared to what they're making or what we're losing is nothing. Like, there should be some much larger penalty that takes into account the public cost and the fact that they committed to that when they got their air rights.
Absolutely.
So if you guys want any help,
yes, we do want
if
help.
I can help, like as a non-CB member, I am happy to do some legwork for you all and help however I'm able to get this resolved.
So I'm happy to tell you that yes, you can help, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as a non-community board member. But the next thing I'll say is that you should be a community board member. So we look forward to you submitting your application to the borough president's office to be a member of community board. And with that, I will see if Luke has anything else to add about this site.
Yeah, so we reached out to the Department of Buildings to find out more about this location. And I think probably in response to Jen, your 311 complaints, in October, well, actually, no, October 2020, this Pops received a violation for closing its Pops. The hearing has not taken place yet. That hearing is on May 27th. And just this month, April 14th, this building also received a violation for its construction fence that it put up. So it looks like the Department of Buildings is on it, but they haven't had hearings to actually issue these violations. But you're right, this POPs violation would only result in a $10,000 penalty.
So I'm going to move on because I know we have another member of the public with a question or topic to raise. But Jen, thank you so much for attending. Please come back and we will follow
Thank
up
you.
about this site. Thank you. And now we have Todd Fine.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, hi. My name is Todd Fine. I'm a graduate student in history at the CUNY Graduate Center. And it has been over 2 years now since the de Blasio administration announced that they hope to build a monument for Elizabeth Jennings Graham, who some call the Rosa Parks of New York City, outside Grand Central Terminal. And I'm not entirely sure which committee on CB5 would be responsible for this, but my understanding is that no committee has ever received any information about this project, even as we know that the Meyer administration is rushing to wrap up projects in this domain. And perhaps COVID-19 is a factor, but we know from other parts of DCLA monument activities that things are going forward. And I wanted to just raise this because I wanted first just to ask the committee what they know about this and to see if there will be a presentation. My fear is that DCLA, and some members of the committee may know, violates percent for art rules quite notoriously. They are notorious for bypassing a community board notification. There actually had to be a reform law passed 2 or 3 years ago about that. And based on experience that some people who follow monuments and especially Black and African American history have with a monument in downtown Brooklyn for abolitionism, we have reason to believe that it's possible that the Percent for Art program might do this process entirely secretly and announce a winner without any community board public process in kind of blatant violation of the law. And that would also be, the public would not be, or community board would not be invited to the meeting where they would select the 5 finalists, and potentially also not to the meeting where they select the winner. And that's what happened in downtown Brooklyn. And so I just want to make the argument that given the societal attention to race and racism right now and history, that the community board be involved in this discussion. And there's also a larger question about whether or not transportation, the railroads, and having her at Grand Central Terminal is really relevant for an event which occurred also in Lower Manhattan and maybe is more connected to her lives. So anyway, I wanted to both ask that there be a full agenda item for this in the future, and also open it up to any knowledge that any members of this committee has about the Elizabeth Jennings Graham Monument.
Thank you so much, Todd. I would just speak as chair of the committee that no, we certainly have not gotten any formal notice of any activity about this proposed monument in our district. I do vaguely remember a press release a couple of years ago, which is probably what you saw as well. But no, that's nothing that we have heard. We do, of course, we would love to be informed about this and weigh in. We did have a really robust presentation and discussion several months ago about the proposed Exonerated 5 monument in Central Park. But I do not have information to share with you about the specifics of this, unless Marisa or Luke, either of you.
I've reached out to the Department of Cultural Affairs and asked for information. I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay, so it sounds like, Todd, that we are investigating, and we will be happy to follow up with you about what we learn. And certainly, if there is something actionable or even not actionable before us that we can put on an agenda item in the coming weeks, we will do so. So please stay tuned at cb5.org for our agendas.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think you should take the initiative if you can to just have a discussion about the historical validity of the location without them if they refuse.
Certainly, certainly. We will put our heads together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Interesting. We will look into that. All right, everyone. I think that is going to wrap it up. Let me just check and make sure if there are any other hands up. There are not. We do have a hand up from Mike. Go ahead.
You're on mute.
Oh, Mike, is this an old hand up?
Sorry about that. I apologize for being so talkative tonight. Must be something I ate. But today I took a walk from 40th Street and 2nd Avenue to 23rd Street and 6th Avenue. And on my way, I noticed a whole lot, many more than normal obstacles in the middle of the streets on 5th Avenue, on the other avenues, on the side streets, mostly having to do with the restaurants. And I'm a big fan of restaurants succeeding and making money and coming back and employing tons of people. But I felt like I was kind of dodging stuff. There were plants in the middle of the street. They're just the stuff that we talk about over the years about not, impeding the progress. Today was just like a banner day for intertwining between all of it. Am I the only one who noticed this? And are we, at this point, going to keep quiet about it with regard to COVID and the tough times that these establishments are dealing with at this time?
So, Mike, are you talking about open streets? Or are you talking about any outside dining?
No, I'm talking about on 5th Avenue between 29th and 28th Street maybe, or 29th and 30th Street, not 28th. But just like one of the restaurants there, not only were they cleaning all their stuff, but they had it piled out on the middle of the sidewalk with trees and stuff and barriers and just, there was a multitude of them today.
Oh, the plant was in the middle of the sidewalk, not the middle of the street.
Correct.
Okay, that helped. I was like, plant in the middle of the street. That's a challenge.
Well, yeah, sometimes.
So one thing with this strange, unruly beast of everything that's happened over the last year, and with open streets and with the dining, is that this is somewhat case by case, and we, just like we have always done with sidewalk cafes, it's a little bit that times 1,000, where we often are the ones, because of our experience walking and moving through the district, identify a potential problem spot. And it could be an innocent, new staff member who doesn't know the rules. It could be an intentional bad actor in the neighborhood. We've had everything in between. So take pictures or note it and email us, the board office or me or whoever. And yeah, we have to follow up on these things. And of course we're concerned about it. And, we have few formal opportunities to weigh in on kind of the overarching principles of some of these programs. But even in those conversations, some of these particular case-by-case situations can get missed even in those conversations. So we have to be vigilant, and we basically have to have an ongoing conversation. So that's my long-winded way to say that, of course we care, and we do need to look into it. And Luke says that the office will connect with you to look into this one in particular. But it goes for everybody, to any spot or site or block, and especially as we move forward with things opening up and warming up, and there's going to be more competition for all of our public space like we've always had. These issues are only going to increase, and we are the people, all of us in the city, but especially we board members are the people who are very well situated to be mindful about how to proceed and to be tracking what's going on. So please take pictures, and please stay in communication about this. I see we do have Jen's hand is up. We are going to wrap this meeting up, but Jen, please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Gosh, I agree with Michael again. I just wanted to reinforce what he said with my own experiences in our very same neighborhood. My husband is disabled and I'm concerned about accessibility issues, I think that if you do anything, you could at least say you always have to keep at least a 6-foot space open. 6 feet of the walkway needs to be open to accommodate wheelchairs and caregivers with the wheelchairs. Something like that. That would be my only comment. And great insights, Michael. Wow, you guys are an amazing group of people.
See, we look forward to your application. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your time and thought. As always, it's been great to see you. And we will see you a week from Thursday night at our full board meeting. Those meeting details are at cb5.org. Thank you, everyone.